I don't like it on my computer. Now it's recording correctly. I like it when it records to the cloud rather than to the computer. And now let's invite the world,
Hello, world.
And I got some good news for everybody, which is amazing. Actually, we had 45 views on Facebook on the last show, which is pretty impressive, considering that there's millions and millions of people on Facebook, and we had 45 of them watch it. So that's, what more could I ask for? That's all I could say. You guys are as impressive as can be. Anyway, all I want to do now is start the show. So let's say hello to everybody that's out there in the real world and introduce them to our show. Welcome. This is our 171st consecutive meeting. Today I'm calling it, I thought it was funny because some of the things that I think are funny, other people don't think so funny. So there it is. I'm your host, Jan Landy. I want to thank everybody on the panel today. Just remember, everything that you hear today is an opinion, so do your own research. And thanks for joining us on social media. Remember to spread the word, give us a thumbs up, subscribe. And now what I'd like to do is also thank our sponsor, soundbroker.com. And normally we just go right into the show, but lately we've been introducing the panel. So if anybody on the panel wants to introduce themselves, now's the opportunity.
Hi, I'm Ken, and I'm what am I? I'm an alcoholic? No, I'm not an alcoholic. I'm a
No,
fan.
You're definitely
You're
not an alcoholic. I know you personally. I know everyone on this panel except for Wayne personally, but not necessarily in the biblical sense. But
what are we supposed to say is my question. Hi, I'm Ken, and I'm a live sound guy. I do sound for live things, concerts, and
where are you located?
Right now, I'm located in my home. Where's my home? My home is in Ventura County, California, and specifically in Thousand Oaks, California.
What a coincidence. I'm a live sound engineer, too. Unbelievable. My name's David. I live in Hollywood.
David, give me 1 second. 1 second. My mouse is...
Okay, that's it. I'm done.
Okay, there you go. Go ahead. Now go.
I'm done. I'm finished. I don't even know who I am anymore.
All right. The podcast will pick it up.
Hello. I'm Wayne from downtown Wagga Wagga, all the way from Australia, and I'm an live sound guy as well.
There you go.
On smaller shows, I feel.
Anyone else want to say anything?
Yeah, if you can have somebody on here from Wagga Wagga, you're covering the world.
Well, this is a worldwide meeting.
Well, before we went live, we were talking about the weather, and I can't believe what's going on in Florida. By the way, one of our panelists, Greg Baker, he may or may not be able to join us today, but he said that all the trees in his backyard were uprooted. But fortunately for him, he had put in storm windows and his windows made it through. There was no flooding, but he told me that it was crazy. The water had the surge had gone up and covered all three bridges in and out of where he was. I think it was Clearwater. I think that's where he is. I'm not 100% sure, but if he comes on, we'll ask him. But he said that the water went over the bridges. Unbelievable. That is amazing. And it's the first time that's ever happened in the history of recorded history of Florida. And I guess that's because they didn't have bridges before they started recording history. So
I think it's because the governor of that state is extreme.
God did it, punishing them for the governor.
That's what it is. That's what it is, David. You got it.
God did it. Absolutely. Yeah. Hey, well, watch out, Wayne. Watch out. He's looking at you right now. All right, that's it. No, seriously, it's a crazy. It's those people that don't believe in global warming or climate change, that man is involved with it, are off the hook crazy. It just makes logical sense. As I say, if you don't think we're responsible for climate change, then just sit in a garage with your car running and see how long you last. That's it. Close the garage door, start your car, and then tell me that if you get asphyxiated, it wasn't because of the car running in the garage. Makes perfect sense, right? Don't do that at home, by the way. Do not do that at home. I'm not advocating for that.
But that's
anyone,
essentially,
even those people I don't believe in.
That's essentially what's happening, though. People
It's
are
going to be this
just
911 call of this guy in his garage in his car, and he's going to say, "I tried to call Jan Landy, but I didn't make it. Tell him it didn't work."
Yeah, I'm going to have to change my outgoing message to that. If this is an emergency, hang up and dial 911. You know.
Yes, you are.
That's it. So, but it's crazy. But I'll tell you one thing that did happen, and I wasn't going to cover this right away, but in Montana, I don't know if you guys are following this, but there's a landmark case where the young people of the state sued to win, and they believe that they have a constitutional right to a healthful environment. And now the state, before they do any planning whatsoever, they have to consider climate damage. There you go. I knew I could get it out. Hey, it's a good thing I don't have to speak English very well. That's all I could say. But no, did you guys hear about that case in Montana?
Sure, those radical kids up there.
Montana, huh? Montana, wow. And how old were those quote unquote kids?
They were high school students.
That's good. See, that's the next generation. They are going to hopefully save the world, because the current generation is not doing very well. We're doing everything we can.
Is definitely not doing very well, and there are people out there that that are running for office right now that don't believe that there is such a thing as climate change. They feel that it's
serious?
Yeah, I'm serious. They don't believe that it's man-made, and they're encouraging more fossil fuels to abolish EVs. But I think that horse is out of the barn right now as far as EV cars, because China is now on board.
Yeah, let me ask you about that. Is it not ecologically unfavorable to have all those lithium-ion batteries in use? Isn't that bad? I mean, those batteries are going to die, and then they're going to go into landfills or wherever they're going to go at some point. Isn't that bad? I'm just asking. I'm not saying it is bad, but I'm really curious. Somebody obviously somewhere thinks it's not as bad as all the other things we do to the earth. But I feel like those lithium-ion batteries are going to be, building up. There's going to be millions and millions of them.
Well, is there nothing they can do with a used battery? Can't they extract?
That's what I don't know. Yeah, that's what I don't know. Maybe there's a way to recycle it, ecologically favorably.
I think I'll invite Elon Musk onto the show next week to talk about this. I'll just give him a call on his private Starlink number.
I know you have his cell phone number. Yeah.
Oh yeah, we speak on a regular basis. When I'm sleeping,
yes.
That's when he always seems to call.
Cool.
I keep saying, Elon, don't call me when I'm sleeping, man. So if that's
can you do something? Can you do something about the Tesla stock price?
Well, the only way to do something about this Jesus Christ, man, it's too early in the morning for me. By the way, it is early in the morning. It's 7:14 in the morning where I am the next day. Unfortunately, I can't give you any tips from the stock market of what's going to happen today, because the time frame, we're all at the same time. We're just at different times. Wayne might be able to, because he's a little further ahead of me. But no, we don't know the future or the past for that matter. But no, I believe that right now there are other challenges that are facing our immediate future regarding EV vehicles, and that is the distribution of power so that people can charge their cars.
Right, like David was pointing out a few weeks ago. Yeah, I mean, we as a country are not ready for a mass, takeover of EV vehicles, right?
Not yet, but without getting political and just talking about what law was passed, there was a law passed by the Biden administration, went through Congress and was passed into law. And there's all this money right now for infrastructure. And part of that infrastructure plan is to build charging stations all over the United States. So just like with the highway project with Eisenhower, where they built the U.S. highways, now they have a plan to put in power stations all along the highway, which is going to be great for EV.
I mean, what if, is there any sort of a suggestion that every gasoline station should also be an electric charging point? or anything like that? Or is that just, they're not even considering that? Because we have millions and millions of gas stations, right? And they're going to need less and less gasoline as EVs take over, right?
I would think that would be correct. Yeah, I would think that gas stations will start becoming charging stations as well.
Yeah, this makes sense. They already have an area to pull over.
But my question is whoever's in charge of all this doing that?
Certainly doing.
Don't everybody answer at once.
They're certainly doing some of that here in Australia. If you go to the servo, there'll be two electrical charging stations. The thing that interests me about electric cars, I mean, I'm not a scientist, but batteries don't seem like the answer to me, because it's got so many issues. If you read the stories, but I'm not a scientist, so I'm only taking judgment on what you can read. And
Wayne, this is an opinion show, and really you can make any opinion you like. We'll all do our own research, so say whatever you like, make it up as you go, please.
But I always think
Feel
of
free.
the thing, I mean, it's so much of a different issue in America. LA might have 15 million cars driving around making pollution. But if all of those cars, all of a sudden we went to EV cars and you all came home at the end of the day and plugged into the grid or the batteries, the whole thing would fall over, wouldn't it, at the moment? The other thing that intrigues me a little, maybe that's not the right, as I said it before, I'm not a scientist. Maybe they should be looking at some other transition other than electric cars. On the global warming and climate change, I think climate change is definitely being affected by the amount of cars, but climate change happens anyway, doesn't it? So all the cars and all the pollution, but if we want energy, if we want our fridge and we want everything to go, how do we come up with something that has, how do we come up with something that's very, very environmentally friendly?
Well, I know that there are other forms of energy that have been put into use, like hydrogen, and David's going to tell us some other ones. But
solar power.
But they don't take over like electricity did, because my opinion or my belief is that it has something to do with Tesla. Tesla was said, hey, we're going to make the next form of energy that is the de facto form of energy, electric. And that's it. And so because that was pushed into play, then it sort of moves hydrogen to the side and moves any other forms of energy to the side. That's what I see. That's
Right.
strictly an opinion.
There are 2 points I want to bring up. Number one, every time somebody talks about climate change, you can't automatically link it to man-made. You have to have 2 categories. Do you believe in climate change, period? And do you believe it's caused by man? If you don't believe in climate change, period, you're an idiot, because there's no doubt that there's climate change. Now you can argue whether it's caused by us or not, but at least admit we're having climate change. That's number one. And number 2, don't forget electrical energy is more and more renewable. It doesn't cost anything to make it. You got the wind turbines, you got the solar cells, and as that gets developed, it's non-polluting. So that's why
Well, you also have dams, like the Hoover Dam is producing most of the energy in the Southwest.
hydroelectric as well. So electric is renewable, and it's not like fossil fuels.
It's actually called Harris Dam, according to the Harris law firm on their commercial.
I think electricity is a good choice.
Hold it, Tina, you got to explain, because people anywhere outside of Las Vegas don't know what you're talking about Harris. So to explain that a little bit.
No, it's a law firm out here. So, when you come through Vegas and you see all the billboards with the law firms all around here all the time. Well, one of the law firms is Harris and Harris, the father and the son. And they have a commercial, and the father calls it Harris Dam when the son says, oh, you're going out to Hoover Dam? You mean Hoover Dam? And the father says, no, it's Harris Dam. And then because of their last name. And then the waitress walks up and she goes, hi. And he goes, yeah, what's the dam over there, the big dam out here? And she goes, oh, Harris Dam. And the son just looks stunned, like he's always thought it's Hoover Dam. I was like, which is really Hoover Dam, but it's a joke.
Actually, I like the way they do that. There's another commercial where a woman in a table next to it comes over and it says, "Do you have?" And he says, "Yes, of course we are. You know us from our commercials." Is that? And she says, "No, I just want to know if I could borrow your ketchup." I like that. I thought that was kind of funny. But putting them down. But we want to talk about pollution, right? So you talk about cars and everything else, but look what's happening now in Japan at Fukuyama. I mean, they are going to be releasing a ton, more than a ton, a zillion tons of radioactive waste into the water.
That they claim is treated. That's what they claim.
They say that there's no way that they could treat all that water, and China.
Exactly, but they claim it is. They claim it's treated and been tested, which is a lie. We know they couldn't. No.
Well, it's an opinion. They're entitled to it. They could be on our show. We'll just have to do our own research.
They never said it was clean. They said it was treated, which means that either somehow eliminated some of the radioactive solid pieces, or they just diluted it, which is also treated. So it's still
that's what they do. They diluted it with water, a lot of water, but still, nonetheless, the repercussions are China now is banning all seafood from Japan in response to Tokyo's decision to begin releasing treated radioactive wastewater from the Fukuyama nuclear plant. And they started doing that just today. It went into the Pacific Ocean. And if you don't think that's going to affect the rest of the world, and as far as climate change and warming up the oceans, which right now, if you going back to our first subject about Florida, the reason why they're saying that there's so much damage being caused is because the waters are hotter than they've ever been before. And if you think radioactive waste is going to cool the water down, then you're insane.
It's apples and oranges. Radioactivity doesn't do a thing to the water except affect the organisms that are in the water. It has nothing to do with heat at all, but it has to do with what you eat. And eventually you will accumulate more of that radioactive crap in your body. So that's the problem with releasing the water. The heat's heating up just because the earth is heating up.
Yeah, nonetheless, by the way, did you see our logo this week, the show logo? I spent a lot of time on that one. So just an FYI, not that I want any credit or a slap on the back. Hey, okay, I do. All right, that's it. Anyway. So we're talking about energy and cars. I got a question for you experts on the panel. When going down a hill in your car, do you save gas by shifting into neutral and coasting? What is your opinion on that, boys and girls?
You mean, do we do that, or does it save gas if you were to do that?
Does it save gas? If you're going down a hill, like, for example, going down the other side of the mountain, going from Nevada to California, do you save gas by putting it into neutral?
According to my miles per gallon gauge on my car, every time I go down a hill, it's got the maximum miles per gallon just because I'm coasting, basically.
You got to remember,
and I don't have to put it in neutral to
a manual transmission is going to force the engine to turn over, which is going to pump gas. But an automatic transmission is going to slip. So I say yes and no.
Wayne, what about you? Have hills? You have hills in Australia? You have a coast?
Oh yeah, we have some hills here, not too many, but we have plenty of hills. But I would think that if it's a fuel injected car, it would it's still going to. That's an interesting one. If you put it in neutral, I would think it would use less. Be dangerous if you, but you're closing off the butterfly on the so there's a high vacuum.
I'll be honest. I'll be honest with you, I would be hesitant to put it into neutral, because then when I put it back into drive, what's going to happen? It's going to do something bad. I have a feeling.
It's not good for an auto. Not good for an auto.
It wouldn't. If you have automatic transmission, it wouldn't. But I'll give you the answer because I read it. Modern cars shut off all fuel flow when coasting in gear. When you're coasting in neutral, the electronic control unit then has to inject fuel and burn to keep the engine at idle. So in reality, if you have a modern car, it's best to keep it in gear. So when you coast in gear, the momentum of the car keeps the engine spinning rather than the fuel in the tank. So yes, if it doesn't do you any good, and plus you could lose control if you take it and put it into neutral. So keep it in gear if you have a modern car, and if you don't, I don't know what.
Yeah, why would anybody want to put it into neutral?
Because some people think that you need to. Some people,
automatic, you shouldn't put it.
Some people think you need to do that in order to save fuel.
Yeah, some people like me.
If it was a manual, so I'm going with David's answer.
So what about a carbureted car? A carbureted car, when you close the butterfly, now it's not, there's no petrol going in. It's just being running down the hill with same deal because it's going down the hill with momentum, but it's still idling. It still has enough fuel to idle, but it doesn't need that fuel because the butterfly's closed, and you've got to have airspeed through the carby to get any atomization of the fuel.
Well, if you're going down a hill, at some point you're going to be going up a hill.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And the amount of gas that you save going down the hill is minimal. So why bother?
Plus, it's like those hills I go when you go from here to Vegas. There's some long hills.
Yeah,
and definitely. I just put the cruise control on, and it's constantly at 99.9 miles per gallon is what it says I'm getting for that moment on my gauge.
Very good. So send all your letters to Wayne Sims. Don't write me if you have any complaints about this part of the episode. Send all your emails to Wayne Sims at soundbroker.com. No. Okay. Thanks. All right. Very good. Moving on. It's been a big week for pop music. Selena Gomez, Miley Cyrus, and Ariana Grande all released new music on the same day this week. Has anybody heard any of their new material?
Nope.
Moving on. Moving on to the biggest story, okay? Apple announces that the i15 event, Wonderlust, and the new Apple Watch Series 9 is going to be on what day is it going to be?
Wait, you said i15. I think you meant iPhone 15, right?
iPhone 15.
Yeah, let's talk Wonderlust. iPhone 15. I want the transcription to read that Jan is talking about the iPhone 15 introduction, and that is going to be when?
I believe it is the 15th, 12th
of September.
Yeah, coming right up.
Okay, we're all going to get our iPhone 15s, aren't we, Jan?
Well, I am on the 13 right now, and I waited because I didn't want to go to the 14. I used to be, an early tech guy. I would be the first one to try out everything. But lately, I have decided that there's no reason to be that far in advance on telephones because my phone works perfectly. It does everything I need it to do. Makes phone calls. It tells me the weather. I read the news. I get on Facebook. I do everything that I need to do with my phone. And then some. I check my banking.
Except charge it with the same charging cable as your iPad.
Yeah, they're going to be the rumor is they are going to put a C connector into the new iPhone, and
that's the big difference. That's the big difference. Of course, they're constantly improving the camera, but yeah, a USB-C connector will not be a bad thing.
Yeah, it would be great because we're eliminating, right now when I travel, I have to take a mini connector. I have to take a lightning connector. I have to take a C connector. I have to have an HDMI connector. I mean, I'm traveling with so many connectors and you got so many cables. I can't believe how many cables I have. I should have went into the cable business. That would have been a good business for a while, but
very, very competitive. And, China is ruling that.
Yeah, but the reality is that what day is that? What I put it in my calendar.
What day of the week is the 15th?
Make sure I miss it. I think it's the 12th. I'm just thinking that it's the 12th. Anybody want to Google it real quick? Go up to apple.com.
It's
the 12th of September is the introduction date. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that should be a Wednesday.
Tuesday.
No, Tuesday. Okay.
Tuesday, I believe it's a Tuesday. So we'll talk about it the next time. We'll be able to talk about it on Wednesday. Of course, the phones won't be available immediately, but they are also introducing iOS 17. And I've been watching some of the tech shows, and iOS iOS 17 is going to have some really good advancements, especially in the messaging field, and also as you know, with the iMessage and with being able to interface with SMS. And also they're going to have some really cool camera upgrade features in the software that'll work on all the cameras of all the iPhones, or at least the recent iPhones. So that's going to be great. That'll absolutely be great. So
just to remind you, one of the biggest differences between your 13 and the 14 and eventually the 15 is the SOS feature, which is, tells when you have no cell service, you can still get up to a satellite for a 911 call. So that's pretty impressive.
Is that right? The 13 doesn't do that, but the 14 does?
14 does. First one. So there's a good
And
reason.
that has already saved
too.
some people's lives,
Yeah.
Absolutely. The Ultra Watch has it in it, but I believe that they're going to introduce it to all of the watches. I'm looking forward to watching the meeting. They do it differently now. In the old days, Steve Jobs used to come out and then they used to bring people out onto the stage. Now they pre-record everything and it's much smoother.
But it's
no good?
Smoother. Well, it's recorded. How could it not be perfect when it's recorded? I like the liveness of the live presentation. Sorry.
I guess that's because you're in the live audio business.
Oh, we do live. We had a great show the other night. We had 2 major catastrophes in the audio department during the show the other night. It was fantastic.
I'm wondering how can I get my
Right? What happened?
Fill us in.
I should send you the link to the YouTube video. The first one was Barry goes to sit down. It's the first time he's sitting at the piano at this particular show. He sits down and he's got the boom stand that's attached to the piano and it's falling down and falling down. He says, and he's got to play piano, so he doesn't have any hands free. So he's like, can somebody come out and fix this for me? he grabs it and he thinks, well, maybe let me try adjusting it. So he grabs it with one hand. Boom! The whole thing just falls off. The boom falls off the stand. And now he's holding the mic with the boom. It was very humorous. So then Will, the monitor guy, came out and fixed it. But then later in the show, it was great. He's 80 and his hearing is not the greatest. And when he says something about what he's hearing, we have to go, oh, okay, yeah, we have to, take it with a grain of salt usually. Well, at this particular time, halfway through the show, he said, Will, to the monitor guy, I'm not hearing anything in my ear monitors. They're just totally silent. He's like, and I'm sure Will said in his mind, said something like, yeah, right. Okay, well, let me try turning it up. He turned it up. He's silent, Will, it's silent. He's like, I turned it way up. He's like, it's silent.
Now, is this during a show? Is this during a show?
He's like talking like he's supposed to be introducing the next song and he's talking to Will. It was so funny. So then he goes, can you come out and help me? And he says, so he runs out on stage with another pair of ear monitors and another pack. And basically, he has his pack so buried inside his clothing that it was like, there's no way he's getting to his correct pack. But he ripped out his ear monitors. He gave him a new set of ear monitors, put it under his jacket. He did all this stuff while he's just like standing there in the dark. It was just totally bizarre. He got a new set of ear monitors and a new pack and got him up and going. And then he went, okay, now I can hear. Oh, that's good. And
that's great. That's a great story.
It was amazing. It was amazing.
What happened after the show?
Nothing. He was like thrilled that he did what he did, He was happy.
It's amazing that Will had an extra set of ear.
Amazing. He has like 3 or 4 sets of extra ears and at least 2 extra packs. He's prepared,
That's really good.
Shit happens. And after the show, I said, "What died?" He said, "The cable. The cable went bad. It's like he pinches it when he puts it in his pants, so it went bad eventually." And because he tested it before he gave it to him, but it went bad, so he threw that cable out and moving on to the next cable. It's great.
What happened to the mic stand? Somebody didn't screw it in.
I think something like that. Yeah, it wasn't properly threaded or something. He has this mount that's on the piano and it's kind of unique, and it's basically what it is it's a small desk stand welded to a little frame that goes to the left side of the piano, and it's just kind of not as stable as it should be ever, but but this time I think it came unscrewed off the mic stand. Maybe it was
Now,
not
who
good.
puts that on? Does Will put that on, or does the stage crew do that?
It's either Will or the backline guy, somebody that's
Right.
very interested in making sure it's solid. So it had been solid at one point, I'm sure, but once he got out there, it was not. It was very
Well, you
from
never
my
know.
from 200 feet away. It was very humorous. I'm sure on stage it was very tense,
Yeah,
but it was
you
very
never know.
humorous.
One of the stage hands could have went up there and said, "Well, I'll just tighten this
Nope,
up."
no way. There's no way.
It's an
any
opinion,
stage
maybe
hands-
it's an opinion. It might be
There's
wrong.
no
but it
way
was an
that any
opinion.
stagehand got anywhere near that mic stand. I promise you.
Wayne, where were you at the time? I want to know. I want to know
Right.
where you were, Wayne.
Well, I was
Anyway.
having
Anyway,
my,
That was our final show too. And by the way, we had a string of 8 shows in 2 weeks and a couple of days of rehearsals before that. And it was as smooth as could be. I mean, the guy is 80 plus, right? And he just keeps going and going. And his hearing and his mental state is not always 100% because he takes medication for his pains and stuff. And he was 100% that whole 2 weeks. It was really a good 2 weeks.
it's really good that there's hope for all of us if someone like Barry is out there, performing at such a great level. You know
Yes,
what I mean?
all I say is if I'm as ambitious as him when I'm his age, that'll be amazing. 80 and he's still super ambitious. He wants to make sure everything is right.
You got Mick Jagger, who's 80. You got Barry, who's 80. And you have Mitch McConnell, who lost it again today.
And how old is he?
81.
Well, you got Paul McCartney is also that same age, and Ringo Starr, a little older.
Right, but Mitch McConnell blank again today. He's in the middle.
Yeah, and these are the people leading our country. Why can't we take somebody like that out of office? I don't get it.
Because once you get into power, you feel you're the only one that could do the job. There's nobody else that could do the job for you except, you need me. You need me because I know more than anyone else. And I'm the one who's going to get you through this. But meanwhile, he couldn't even hear the question. And then when he did hear the question, so basically the experts are now projecting that he's really incapable right now of doing the job that he's got. And he really needs medical.
Isn't there some law that says if they're not capable of, just existing properly on a day-to-day basis that they get taken out of office? Isn't there some kind of law about that?
There's a rule.
Do you think there is a possibility in hell right now that because of the way the Senate is such a precarious balance of power, that they're going to lose Mitch McConnell, the majority leader or the minority leader of the Republican Party in the Senate? They're going to take that guy out for any reason whatsoever.
Well,
He's
what
going to
happened-
drop dead
What
before
happens
they
is
pull him
it's
out.
Kentucky. Kentucky's a red state, which means the governor is a Republican. And the governor nominates and puts in a replacement until they can have an election. So they're going to put another Republican in.
But it's not going to have the seniority that Mitch McConnell
That's
has.
your point. That's the point
Yeah.
you should be making.
Yeah, and
That's
by
a
the
good
way,
point.
right now there is Kentucky might be red, but they do have Democratic leaders in Kentucky right
They
now.
have a Democratic.
So, no, I don't believe the Republican is. I believe it's a Republican state, but there is right now with what's going on in the political world. There's very good possibility that there's going to be some changes going on where the Democrats could actually take over both the Congress, both houses of the Congress, and possibly win the White House again. It's a crazy time right now. What's going on? It's just absolutely crazy. I mean, for the first time in the history of the United States, a former president has been indicted 91 times. 91 times is up, so we're in new territory where we have never been before. And it's not an exciting time. It's a frustrating time because, America is the big light on the hill and we shouldn't be going through something like this, but we are. I mean, I guess it just goes to show this is right now, America is going through some growing pains and we're going to see if democracy is going to really hold up. That's where we're at right now. So
it's interesting to see that same guy that's been indicted how many times is fully supported by many people. Certain percentage of the population of the country are still avid supporters of that guy, and that's what I see as the problem.
Well, the problem is for these people is that there's no alternatives. If there was an alternative, that wouldn't be the case. But there are no alternatives for them.
Do you ever see the interviews on what's it called, The Daily Show? I think it's called The Daily Show. The one that used to be Trevor Noah. They do some interviews with people at rallies, at political rallies.
Jason Clemmer.
Yeah, it's the best. It's the best. It's the best. Klepper, I think, or something. Anyway, that guy, Jason.
Yeah.
Those interviews are amazing. I mean, it's just, he brings out the fact that there are many people in this country that are just cuckoo. They're just totally nuts.
Yeah. Well, they don't. They just believe what they believe, and in their life, they're right because nobody wants to be wrong. That's the one thing that is universal. Anywhere you go, nobody wants to be proven wrong. Nobody. Everybody wants to believe that they're right. Yeah, but when you make someone wrong, it's not a good thing.
Right, but I'm never wrong, but I'm often mistaken.
Yeah, well, I thought I was wrong once, but I was mistaken. You're right. So there you go. That should be the name of the title of the show, but it's too late now. All right. Anyway, yeah, I've never been wrong. I thought I was once, but I was mistaken.
There was one interview. Did you see his interview with somebody talking about this numeric sort of language, Jumanji or something like that? Did you see it?
Jumanji?
It wasn't Jumanji, but it was a word like that.
Isn't that a movie?
I'm gonna find it. Sorry.
By the way, I wanted to talk about, you talked about the fails at the Manilow show. Taylor Swift's mic failed. Did you guys see the video of that? Where she's, in front of all these, 60, 70,000 people and her mic failed. Yeah. And wow, she was amazing with that. There's a video on.
Well, I saw that a few months ago, didn't I? Yeah. And the guy brought her to the replacement eventually, but it was kind of slow. I mean,
in Chicago,
in our world,
but she handled it really well.
Oh, she was great.
She's the one right now. She's the most professional, the most popular, the most powerful. She's got it going on.
You saw the show she did in the rain? She just didn't hold back. She just had a great time.
In the pouring rain. Pouring rain.
Thank God for wireless, huh?
Oh my gosh.
No, she's the consummate performer right now. I don't know how this happened, but I just watched the video on YouTube where some guy got to the point where he was almost able to grab her leg. I think he actually had her shoe in his hand trying to pull her down, and she just kept going on as if it was nothing. And then, they brought that guy down. But the fact that she didn't miss a beat was phenomenal. I mean, literally didn't miss a beat. She just shook it off. And I think she was doing Shake It Off at the time, so.
Yeah, right.
Unlike, by the way, RIP, rest in peace, Bob Barker at 99 passed away. So I had no idea he was still alive, but I guess I wonder if he did. But nonetheless, Bob Barker is no longer with us on this planet. The Price is Right. So all I could say is, in honor of Bob Barker, come on down, Ken.
I thought he was the highest bidder without going over 100.
Yeah, Price is Right. Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
there was something like him. So it's gematria is what I was talking about. So have you seen this? I don't know if it's focusing on me, but it's that particular that one from the Daily Show, and he's talking to this lady about this thing called gematria. Have you heard of gematria?
No. What is gematria?
Tina, look it up and fix us up with the link.
Okay.
What is gematria in your own inimitable way? Tell us.
It's a numeric interpretation of words, or something like that. Okay. And she says she's here. Like if I can, let's see if I can.
Everything's coded, and I've been learning gematria. So
what's gematria?
Can I pull my phone out for a second?
Sure.
Okay, so it's called the gematria and it's a calculator.
Gematria is a mystic numerological key and an app which allows believers to type in words and get back meaningful numbers.
You type it in the calculator, you get these numbers. And so Michael Jackson's last concert was This Is It. Comes to 113.
You know what that means? Do you? I don't know what that means.
So 113 means not true.
So Michael Jackson, that wasn't his last concert.
And he's alive.
Michael Jackson's alive. People are talking. Is Bin Laden still alive?
Tim,
Are you doing math right now?
no, I'm trying to remember his real name. Tim.
Osama Bin Laden.
Yeah, Tim.
Tim?
Someone, forgot his last name.
Tim is not the most Saudi name.
And he wasn't Saudi, he was
was-
from the CIA.
How does Magda and Trump fit into all this?
Listen.
Well, Trump, 88.
Help me out with
Jay
that.
Kennedy, 88.
So they're the same person?
I don't know. That's what gematria says. Everything's coded, and I've been learning gematria, so.
Okay.
He's not
There you
doing
go.
good.
I mean, and those are the Trump supporters. I mean, unbelievable, you know?
Very interesting.
That's exactly my point. These people are not the brightest people in the world, but yet they're supporting this guy who is, in my opinion, not the greatest leader of the country.
No, never was and never will be. And right now, there are many states, the secretaries of state, they're the one who puts together who gets on the ballot in their states. And they are now debating, especially New Hampshire is the number one state, which would be the second place where the Republicans have their primaries. And right now, the secretary of the state of New Hampshire is doing his research whether or not that the 45th president is eligible to be put back on the ballot. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. It's an exciting time for the country, that's for sure. And believe me when I tell you, there are people that are so adamantly supporting this guy and his supporters. You know what's going. I hate to make this show political, so I'm just going to say that basically Rudy Giuliani is now today the judge ruled against him, and he now has to pay a penalty for demeaning those two women, the poll workers in Georgia. He's been found in contempt, and he's been found to have violated their rights, and the judge has ordered him to start paying. And he is not giving them their financial information that they've requested. And so he's admitted guilt. There's no that, but there are people that still don't believe that he's admitted the guilt. They believe, they still think he's like America's
He's the
mayor,
greatest guy.
thing
But
that ever happened.
I want
But
to just
he's
say,
already admitted the guilt.
so Tina took care of it. She got a Wikipedia entry for gematria. It's so bizarre. Thank you, Tina. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Well, one of the things it says is that the Hebrew letters, the Hebrew alphabet, and they're substituting numbers. But in Hebrew, the first at least 10 letters of the alphabet are the first 10 numbers. That's always been that way. That's not something somebody made up. They just took it further. So Aleph, which is A, is also 1.
Right.
It works that
There
way.
you go. Now you've really learned something, but do your own research. This is an opinion show. I always thought that was, something that they made, olive. I thought that was something that you put in a martini, an olive. So anyway, moving on, let's talk about what else is going on. I got some tips of the week. If you send out emails, if you send out emails and you want to keep track of those emails, like in other words, let's say I send out an email to, let's just say for argument's sake, Poltech, because I want a response. And what I do is I blind copy myself to follow up with a company called Follow Up Then. Just the way it's set. If you put followupthen.com, go there. It's a free service, which you could also pay for, but it's free if you don't put any attachments. And then in the blind copy space, I'll put in 1 week. So I'll send out the email to them, dear Poltech, I've been trying to reach you now for months. Oh, no, actually since 2017, and you're not getting back to me. And I own 2 of your units and I need them repaired. Just hypothetically speaking.
Well, by the way, those aren't their units, but go ahead.
All right. Anyway, hypothetically speaking, I said, and then I would put in the blind copy 1 week at follow up that then. And then in 1 week, I would get a reminder in my email box back from follow up then about the email that I sent. So then I could take action. And that's a free service, follow up then. The other tip of the week, we're going to do 3 this week. This one affects everyone. And this is from CNN. It's how to clean your keyboard. And we're going to throw a link in the show notes on this from Google, from CNN. I read the article. It's really cool and it's easy. But what they say is there's more bacteria on your keyboard than there is on your toilet seat. So clean your keyboard. Clean your keyboard. That's all I could say is clean your keyboard. By the way, there is an app on the Macs, for the Mac that will freeze your keyboard so that you could clean it without disconnecting it from your computer. And the last one, which is going to be the tip for all of us in this room that fly on a regular basis, is Google Flights has just updated itself. And now Google is going to use AI to help us in figuring out when is the best time to buy a flight so that you can get the least expensive price on a ticket. And that is very brilliant. That's very, very brilliant. It's way overdue. So flights.google.com, and there's already supplemental pricing tracking alerts for you so that if you are looking for a particular flight, it will notify you, number one, when's the best time to look, and 2, if another flight comes up that's cheaper than the one you're looking at, you'll get notified. So Google Flights, those are the 3 tips of the week. Thanks for listening about that. And, follow up then, how to clean your keyboard and Google Flights. All right. So next
So you're not
subject
going to
that I
tell
wanted
us you're not going to tell us how to clean the keyboard. You're just going to give us the link that tells us, right? Because I heard one tip one tip I heard was there's a Tide pen. You familiar with the Tide pen?
Yes.
That's for getting spots out. I read one tip that said use that to clean your keys on your keyboard. Of course, you have to disconnect it before you use it, but just dab it on each key one at a time and then clean it with that. That was one tip that I saw.
I recommend putting it in the dishwasher. That's no, I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding. It's an opinion. Do your own research. That's it. I am kidding. No.
What about?
I read an article that you put it in the dishwasher.
Yeah,
No.
What about Glen 20? Disconnect it in a light spray of Glen 20.
We don't have that in America.
Yeah.
Oh well, it's a antibacterial spray. So you'd have it.
Well, maybe we're going to have to import it from Australia. That's all there is to it.
We have Lysol.
It'd be called
yes,
something.
We do have
else.
Lysol. We have ultraviolet light too, as a matter of fact, in our country. That works very, very well. So another thing, by the way, SpaceX capsule carried 4 astronauts from 4 different countries up to the space station. And now there are the 7, I think there's 11 astronauts up there right now, 11 of them counting. So
is there room for 11 people up there?
Dave, can you count up to 11 in Hebrew? Okay, that's it. What's 11?
Olive.
Well, so they must be drinking martinis up there. That's what you're saying? Okay, that's it. All right. So speaking of airlines and flights, the Department of Transportation has issued its largest fine ever to American Airlines for keeping passengers waiting on planes during lengthy tarmac delays. $4.1 million was a fine levied on the airline for the delays that impacted over 5,800 passengers between 2018 and 2021. The longest of the delays. Could you believe it? When I think about it, it's hard to believe. And of course, do your own research. But a plane in Texas sat for over 6 hours on the tarmac, and they wouldn't let the passengers off. 6 hours in Texas.
Well, remember, we just had a plane sit on the tarmac here in Las Vegas in the over 100-degree weather for 8 hours.
Oh my God!
Within the last year?
Within the last month.
Oh my God. How is that possible? I thought there were laws against that these days.
Exactly. And you know, like instead of fines,
There
why
are
don't they
laws.
take care of people?
There are laws about that, but they don't seem to be working.
Wow. That's all I can say. Wow.
Yeah,
Sounds
there's
unreal.
laws for
doesn't it?
everything. By the way, what can I say? I mean, fortunately, nobody died on the plane. I mean, if somebody would have died, that would have been a different story. So thank God that they didn't die.
They had to bring people out and medically take them off the plane.
Yeah,
It
that's
was bad.
horrible. That's horrible.
Because they don't have no air conditioning, and
Well,
and
had to have some kind of air circulation in there
They
for
didn't have
more
it.
than an hour.
people were passing out and defecating.
What the heck? Why couldn't they just move that plane back to the terminal or get the
Exactly.
people out in a bus or whatever?
Because they're more
That
worried
is
about their pay
insane.
than they are about the people. They wouldn't even give
What-
people food or water.
What airlines was that, by the way?
I want to say that was American Airlines.
Unbelievable. Well, anyway, they
Wow,
got fined. And they'll be fined
Do you
again. I'm sure they're
remember,
going to be
David?
fined.
I don't remember who it was.
Oh, okay.
I'm sure they're going to be fined again. That's all. Well, it could have been Southwest because they're that's the hub over there.
It was
in
not
Las Vegas.
Southwest. Definitely
It
not.
It
wasn't.
wasn't.
It could have been Spirit. It could have been American. It could have been any of them, but it was not Southwest.
Well, let's do some Google research. I'd like to get at least if we're going to do an opinion show,
It was
one
Delta.
opinion should be correct.
It
Delta,
was
you know.
Delta. Whoa.
It was Delta.
Which, in my
Delta.
opinion, is one of the better airlines these days.
Yes.
Wow.
Not that day.
Well,
That day is
it's a
right.
good,
Well,
it's a good
here's,
thing.
here's,
It's an opinion show. There's your opinion. There you go.
here's the
Can I take you back? It wasn't 8, it was 3 hours. But still,
Even
that's
so.
long in 111-degree weather.
That's
So Delta,
that's
I bet
3 hours too long.
Delta is very good at
Yes.
taking care of its passengers. I have a feeling they compensated those passengers nicely. The last time I was delayed and had to take a different flight by Delta, they gave me an American Express card worth like $500 or something. It was really great. So
There
I
you
love
go.
Delta. So I hope
There you
that I
go.
bet those passengers were nicely compensated.
Well, if Delta wants to, they could take that aspect of the show, that little snippet of "I love Delta," and they could use it. I give them my permission, right?
That's
now,
nice.
by the
That's
way.
nice.
By the way, I'll tell you another organization that I love, but is having a little bit of problems right now is the Smithsonian. They are grappling right now with a legacy once deemed acceptable, but now is clearly ethically wrong today. I mean, there's so many things that used to be okay in the day, and now no longer so much. So anyway, the head of the Smithsonian, his name is Lonnie Bunch III. I love a name like that, the third. You just seem like, if you were born as a third, you're already older than you think you are, even as a baby, Lonnie Bunch III. I mean, you think that the guy would be, 80 years old. And so when I was a kid, I wanted to order Playboy, but I felt like my name was too young sounding and they would catch it like immediately. So I came up with the name Radwell Clark III. And I thought, wow, that guy's got to have money. He's got to be, he's got to be a staunch member of the community. He's got to be at least in his 40s. They'll give that guy a subscription with no questions asked.
That's a good one. That is a good one, Jan.
Yeah. Anyway, so basically what's happened here at the Smithsonian is that they have been collecting human body parts, and they are in possession of over 30,000 body parts, including 255 brains. And it's taken mostly from people of color from the early 1900s, and mostly without the consent of their heirs or relatives, or themselves for that matter. So the Smithsonian, I don't know what they're doing with all those body parts from so many, but they've got them. So, and I don't think they're going to be selling them on eBay anytime soon. So, and I don't think they have an exhibit that highlights this. So I just thought I'd share that with you guys. Any opinion on that? Anybody missing a brain? You know, you
No,
can
but-
check with the Smithsonian.
What's interesting is that woman who they took her blood, and it turns
Yeah,
out,
because that's not new what they're doing.
no, well, they just gave her family millions of dollars
Good.
for all those years. They did something with her blood. She had cancer, and she had something with her blood, and it turns out that she had an immune aspect to her blood that went on to save millions of people and come up with all of these vaccines. And they've been using her blood, cloning it for 100 years. And she was already dead, and they did it without her permission. And everybody knew about it. Her name is famous. Her picture has been around, that she has saved humanity because this unique feature of her blood. And finally, this year, after 60, 70, 80 years, whatever it is, they gave her family millions of dollars in compensation for using her blood without her permission.
Well, congratulations to her. But if she was dead, how could she get permission?
Well,
No,
it was before her family didn't give permission. I mean, it's still a family.
Yeah.
he's
Well,
just
there you have it.
he's just telling the shorter version, but it's not that they took it like they took her. It's a long story. It's
Oh yeah,
not,
Henry had a
it's not
lot.
as simple as it sounds.
It's a long
would-
story, but we only have 4 minutes left of airtime.
So-
So what the hell?
Yeah,
so
so do your
Smithsonian-
research.
I find it interesting that Smithsonian has these body parts and brains because they're a museum. They're not a medical facility. I would understand if they were a medical facility and they're doing research. Or does the Smithsonian do research?
Don't they have like Einstein's brain, that kind of stuff?
Oh, you can display Einstein's brain because it's like supposedly so amazing, right?
Right.
But to have multiple brains and body parts and things, I would think it would be because you want to do research on them. I guess not. Okay.
Well, we'll bring them over to your house, Ken, and we'll start the research project right over
I just
there.
know when Sandra passed away, they called me and said, "Can we take her brain because we want to see?" You know, she was taking certain drugs and she had certain what do you call them? Things that were going on with her life, like depression, and they wanted to do research. I was like, sure, it's not any good to anybody else. May as well do the research on it. So they did.
I'm a body donor. I'm an organ donor as well, and so yeah.
But
I
it's
think that's
not only for to help another person out, but also for research. I thought the research thing was interesting.
I think so too. I mean, that's how they do it. I mean,
but my question
otherwise-
is, does Smithsonian do research, or are they just displaying these body parts somewhere?
That's a question we're going to have to leave open in the abyss of not knowing until next week, where we'll do our research and come back if we remember. If we don't remember, well, then I guess that's the way it goes. But by the way, speaking of research and everything else like that, the U.S. Center of Disease Control and Prevention has screened blood samples and estimates that 97% of the people in the U.S. have some immunity to COVID. So that is really a good thing. Even though COVID is not gone, we'll put the link in the show if you want to know more about that. But so the odds are that if you get COVID, you're not going to die from it these days.
Yeah, McKelly
Anyway,
had it just a couple of weeks ago. So, proving that not everybody is immune.
Yeah, well, no, you might be immune, but you can still get it. In other words, you might be immune, but you're not going to die from it. And that's the key element here, that you're not
Okay.
going to die. And it makes it a lot easier for you knowing that you don't have to worry about death, because death is the ultimate unknown. And that's what scares people the most, is the unknown. And that's what scares me about Wayne too, the unknown of what he's going to say next. So Wayne, what are you going to say next?
Well, what am I going to say next? Well, I could say that I'm going to work with a band called Wobbly Boot in a town called Mangapla this weekend or tomorrow night. And they're a good band, great bunch of people.
That's double talk. You're just making up words.
No, that's all true.
That's what
The
scares
town-
me. So yeah, there you go.
The town's called Mangapla. The band is called Wobbly Boot. Great bunch of fellas and girls. And there's a female fiddle player. They're a good. I work with them quite often. Great band.
Mm-hmm.
I thought you might think those names were made up.
That is
but they're-
awesome. That is really cool.
Okay.
Well,
That- that-
congratulations. It's good to see your work. It's
Since
good
you
to
said
see-
it twice
it's good
in a
to know
row,
you.
You said it twice in a row and you didn't make a mistake. I believe you now.
Yeah.
Yep, that's good. That's good. Better than
It's like
me.
what-
Better than me. You're better than me. Anyway, one of the things that I wanted to talk about today, and now we're at the very end of the show, was Ally Bank put out a letter to me on the latest cyber scams and how to spot them and protect yourself. And I had asked people to come join us to talk about this, but nobody really gave a shit because nobody other than the regulars are here. And so basically, you guys, what do you care about cyber scams? But basically, the reality is that there's a great article on the Ally Bank site, and one of the things that they say, you know, there are three things that you have to be aware of, is that the most common mistake, and really watch this when you get an email or a text message. Number one, if there's typos in the message. Two, urgent requests for you to do something. Three, miscolored or distorted logos from trusted companies, or all of the above. And so there's an article about phone scams and phishing, or vishing as they call it, student loan repayment scam, crypto scams, digital payment app scams, online marketing scams, work from home scams, romance scams. And so be careful out there, you know, be careful. And, you know, remember this, if it seems too good to be true, it usually is. And, you know, right now there's this big thing, I believe it's in Cambodia right now. What's happening is that they had advertised for all of these people with high paying jobs, you know, and people started to flock to Cambodia. And it turns out it was just a big scam. And they took their passports, locked them up in rooms, and made them do cyber scams crimes. So be careful. It's a wild world out there, to quote Cat Stevens. You know, it's a wild world. Be careful. Anyway, that's it for me. I've got one more story, but we'll cover it for next week. And it has to do with mob rule. So with that in mind, if there's anybody on the panel that wants to say anything, now would be the time.
Yeah. So did you guys hear that? You know, you heard about the fire festival, the flawed fire festival. The guy went to prison. The guy is now out of prison and he's working on the new fire festival. So beware. He's already sold tickets to the fire festival.
It's sold out already. It's sold out.
Are you serious?
Yep.
I heard it was sold one batch of tickets, like 500 tickets or something, but that's not sold out.
No, he sold out. He sold out. We actually discussed it last week because I mispronounced it, and Tina caught me on that, and she was the one who told me how it was pronounced. But yeah, it's already sold out.
It just baffles me. How are people so gullible?
Welcome to America, my friend. Welcome to America.
Look who we elected president. Talk about gullible.
Well, you know, he did go to jail for it. So you'd think that he would figure out how to do it right this time.
There's not. I don't feel like there's one right bone in his body.
I wouldn't give him a dime, but I would actually bet that this one comes off.
Okay, I would bet against it.
Okay,
well,
Kenny, here you go.
He learned from his mistakes, and I doubt that he would be that stupid. I mean, although, again, this is an opinion show, but I doubt he would be that stupid to want to go back to jail, you know? I mean, unless his advisor is Sam Bankman-Fried, you know? I mean, there you go. But who knows? Maybe Sam Bankman-Fried's backing the show from federal prison. Who knows? Who knows what's going on out there in the world? Just remember, if you know, you can be part of this panel and share your opinion with everyone else. Remember, click the like button, subscribe, and tell your friends about it. If you want to be part of the panel, DM us any way you can. If you're on the panel and you want to click the like button and put a link to yourself, you're more than welcome to. And with that in mind, if there's nothing else that anybody wants to say, we'll stay in the room and chat for a while. But, oh, by the way, David, before we go, I just want to send my best to Myrna. How is she doing?
Better. She's doing better. The place is really wonderful. My wife fell and cracked her pelvis. So she's in a lot of pain and she can't move. And we had to cancel a trip to Europe on a cruise and all sorts of stuff. But we found a really good place for her to have a rehab. And she's actually doing really well. So
Good. I'm glad to hear that.
I mean, she's in pain, you know, and this is nothing. It's the real deal. She can't walk yet. She can take about 10, 15 steps very slowly, but she's going to get better, and she's got a great attitude.
Good. That's the most important thing is attitude. Anyway, take care of your health. You know, if you're a male over 60, make sure you get your PSA test. If you're a female over 40, make sure you get a mammogram. You know, take care of yourself. That's all I can say. Take care of yourself. That's you know, remember, you only have one body, and you might as well make it the best body you can while going through life. So that's my advice. And just remember this, you make it happen. So have a great week until we see each other again next week for the 172nd, man, I got to learn how to talk. 172nd consecutive meeting here at our current event show. So thanks a lot. Have a great week. And remember, you make it happen. So go out and make it happen. Talk to you again next week or sooner. And we are off the air.
I just put a link in the chat to the